Welcome to the Business Spotlight, where today the spotlight is shining on Paul Baker from the Disrupt Agency. Welcome, Paul.
Welcome.
Woo,
nice to meet you, Nell.
Yay. Nice to have you here. Look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, glad to be here.
To start us off with, can you tell our viewers a little bit more about you and the company, please?
Certainly can. So Disrupt Agency was essentially born out. We rebranded in March 2023. So it was an amalgamation of Ellis Knight International Recruitment and our inclusive and sustainable employer standard includability. So because of the growth within both of those business and the value that they both gave, we decided to merge the two and now trade under the Disrupt Agency brand. And the organisation has been running since 2015, wholly owned by my three partners, Paul Smith, Dave Holby-Walensky and Patrick Graham. And yeah, and we're a double certified B Corp, which, as far as I know, we're the only business in the UK that has that accreditation.
Okay, and tell us what it is that you guys do.
So we are we're a recruitment business primarily focused around outsourced solutions to business challenges within growing, transforming, or scaling businesses here within the UK. So what we do predominantly is we simplify the entire recruitment process, become an extension to companies' HR department. Rather than hiring their own recruiters and everything else, we have the process, the systems, the platform, the experience. We bolt that into their business for periods of time that are needed, whether it's an on-demand service, so for short periods, projects, or full RPO, which is 12 months to 2-year contracts at a time. And then we run all of their recruitment within the UK. Our largest account, currently, we've been running for 6 years. We cover 90 sites in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is huge. That's grand scales. Grand scale.
Certainly is.
Yeah. So what made you guys start a business?
So, look, I can't take credit for the setup of what was Ellis Knight originally, because that was set up before I joined. But I think the reason why I rejoined back in 2021, got back together with Paul, Patrick, and Dave, was purely around the synergy and the values that we all shared. And I'd been working a lot in diversity and inclusion and working with organizations around cultural transformation and building great places to work where people can be their authentic selves. And they'd been heavily focused around sustainability. And actually, it was just great timing, really. I'd had some challenges with a business I owned 50% of for a period of time. And, you know, it got to a point where there was no other way to go. So I exited that business, tried to do another startup in the background. And that actually developed into the building of the includability platform and the ideas. And then obviously back into the recruitment business. Okay.
It's kind of right time, right place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, you know, look, good people. And it's funny how your paths cross throughout your careers, but you always end up where you're meant to be. And this is where I feel I was always meant to be.
I'm a big fan of that, or a big believer in that as well. So that. So talk me through what you guys do really well, and especially in that industry, because you're in an interesting industry that's heavily what's the word I'm looking for? That has some interesting opinions about it.
Yeah, look, I think it's quite a strange one, because as a recruitment sector, look, the recruitment sector doesn't really have great press, and to be honest, we're pretty much to blame for that, because so many individuals it seems so money motivated and so money orientated that you lose sight of the impact and what you're actually trying to deliver. And I think historically, people that have been in recruitment for the number of years I have will remember starting off in those organizations where, unless money was your motivator, you're never going to succeed. And whenever you hit those monetary values, it's where's the next one? So you were so focused and delusional around this sort of conditioning of what you need to achieve that the reality of what you're dealing with seemed lost. Now, I was very fortunate. My career started with an organisation called Champion Recruitment in Oxford, and the MD of that business was one of the most amazing, hard, real taskmaster, but one of the most amazing women in business that I've ever worked for.
Lovely.
And she had this ability to recognise when individuals were putting everything in, and she would support you, and she'd have your back every step of the way.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, you knew what the expectation was there, that you were going to work hard.
Yeah.
And that in itself sort of creates, you saw that the ethics and the values and what was important were drummed into us in those early days, that we're dealing with people's lives here on a day-to-day. And if you focus your business around the impact and the values and the important stuff, the money happens anyway. But what you do in the meantime is you create these amazing relationships that people trust you on. And there isn't a lot of trust in our industry, I can tell you that.
No. It's an interesting one, because we've had a few people with recruitment agencies on already doing these business spotlights, and it's interesting to understand all the differences that are going, especially right now. And I was going to say, like, in the last couple of years, especially, what have been some of the challenges that you guys have faced?
So I think everybody, you can't escape the last few years without COVID being a massive black mark in the middle of it. We, throughout COVID, I think COVID from an industry perspective has created a lot of uncertainty around, is this another financial crisis where the brakes come on and no one's hiring? But I think what you learn through adversity over the years is that economic trends occur. We will always have periods of amazing time where we're harvesting and everything's working well, but followed by periods of decline. And those periods can be 10, 12 years, they could be 2-3 years. And I think the challenges that come through from that is that you build this level of resilience to know that you have to move the dial. You can never, ever sit there and think that you're the finished article. I know everything, and actually our business model and everything is perfect, and we're just going to continue that forever, because it will die eventually. You've got to continually improve. You've got to continually change, and you've got to continually look at the market, look at your proposition, look at what you're doing, and look for that 1 degree of difference. What else could we be doing differently? What more, what do our customers say? What do they want? How do they feel? And really focus around that. And look, we're not your traditional recruitment business. If we walked in a room of recruiters, we'd be stood out as, probably the outcasts in the corner, because, we'd all be dressed differently, we'd be acting differently. But, and I think that's the fundamental part, is that we are who we are. We're proud of what we're about. We're fiercely, focused around doing the right thing, but we want to work with businesses that share those values, that want to treat people right, that focus on their impact, use their business for good, and not just want to make money and and drag people along to achieve their aims. So
I love that so much. I feel like we could end the interview right now. We won't, but I love that answer. That was amazing. Absolutely love that. So aside from understanding where you're different or how you could be different, what other learnings have you had as a business?
I think if you look historically over what organizations are looking to achieve when they hire people, there's always been this underlying element, and we've heard it in the, in terms of terminology, fit. And they're a good fit for us. They're right culturally. But actually, there wasn't really any substance to that, other than what we now know as affinity bias, i.e., found a great person, they support the same football team, went to the same school, they like the things I like, they're brilliant, let's bring them in. But what about their ability to do the job? what else are they going to bring? What degree of difference are they going to bring? Or are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
going to create just an environment of you in that team? So I think that that fundamental challenge really from organizations and that we faced has been around really understanding, you know, what are they looking to do? You know, when we talk about culture, it then moved into diversity and inclusion, suddenly became the buzzword around building authentic and inclusive places to work. Sustainability has now come into the forefront. And so as a sales business, the more you tell people about the great things you're doing, the more they feel it's a sales pitch. And so how do you move from knowing and feeling and believing in the values that you represent to actually articulating that to your client base?
Yeah. Nice.
And so in order to validate that, we went for, okay, well, let's go to external partners and get validation in terms of accreditation. So we went through, we were the first recruitment company to become Planet Mark certified. We're for being carbon neutral. We were the first, one of the first 4 recruitment companies in the UK to gain B Corp certification. And if you don't know about B Corp, look me up or research it, because it's an amazing movement. And those pillars, essentially, CSR Gold, everything that was intrinsic in the organization, the values and the people that we have, is now reflected in those accreditations, because people know what you have to go through to achieve them. It's not like a disability confident certificate that you can go to the government website, download it, and tomorrow you're disability confident.
Yes.
This is about true audit of your organization, your policies, your process, your people, how you treat your workers, and it then gives you a grade and an accreditation, but also a process of continuous improvement for recertification in 3 years. And that really is what we're about. We don't want to sit still. We want to show that we're making advancements and movements forward. And that's why the B Corp accreditation worked really well for us.
Okay. And I take it for you guys, that was a huge win to get that to start with. What have been some of the other wins that you've had?
Yeah, I think, look, my brain goes at 100 miles an hour every day. So I think getting hold of really good ideas and driving them through is, because I have lots of ideas, but picking the ones that are going to add real value are great. And again, the same with, with my business partners, essentially, we've got, instead of all having the same skill sets, we've all got different skill sets. And that really helps, because it keeps you grounded. It really allows you to assess and look at the strategy behind the idea and the ability to grow it. So, and then, coming together, I think, when I first got together with the guys, which was Ellis Knight Recruitment at the time, before we built Includability, we all had lots of ideas, and Paul Smith is an ideas man, phenomenal. And just have a look at what he's done with Includability, and now Jack in the Workplace is phenomenal. But bringing those ideas together, being able to share my knowledge, my expertise, all the research that I'd done across diversity and inclusion in those early days really lit that fire between us, and and set us on the path to building what is now a UK leading standard for inclusive and sustainable employers. It's an accreditation that we've built, and actually we got that B Corp. We just gained B Corp certification in that business as well, with a score of about 142, I believe, which is likely to gain best in the world accreditation for community. So that is a massive win.
Wow. How do you celebrate that?
Beer.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Do you know what? You celebrate it. It's an amazing feeling to have been part of, building something that's got there. To have Dave Holby-Walensky and Paul Smith championing that and really building that has been amazing to watch, from a sit down and a discussion to what it's now created. The monetization of that is always the challenging part, because doing great stuff, you've got to be commercial. So it's one thing doing great work and having a great impact, but you've got to be commercial. And that's all coming together now as well. But the celebration of it is just the realization, I think, sometimes just being satisfied that you're doing something really good. And it's not about so much about how we feel about it. It's about the feedback we get from the community and from everybody else involved. It just makes you feel really proud.
I love that answer, and there's a reason why I asked that question, because in my experience, a lot of business owners do really great things in their communities, with their teams, with their businesses, and they don't celebrate it. They often don't even stand still and give themselves a pat on the back and go, "Yay, great, well done us." They instantly go, "What's next? What's next?" And they focus on all the negatives and all the things that they didn't do. And actually, that's the wrong way around.
Yeah, and it's a sales mindset, you know, and I think that's the conditioned sales mindset that, look, I'm 48 years old this year, so I've been in the industry a long time, and and in those early days, it was very much around, you know, set yourself a goal, but you know, once you achieve that goal, it was a bit flat and a bit empty, because straight away it was like, well, we don't want you, right, what's next? And what's next? So you'd hit it. And look, I've got an amazing wife who is very grounded and a very different mindset, very different background.
Okay.
And she used to be like, why can't you just be happy that you've achieved something there? And it was like, what do you mean achieved? No, but it's there. What's next? And it was like, can you not just enjoy it? And I was like, do you know what? I'm a lot better now, but my goodness, it's taken me a few years to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's
good advice.
It's a reoccurring
Celebrate your successes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When clients phone me and they go, "Oh, Nell, I've just achieved X, Y, Z," it's my first question: how are you going to celebrate? And generally that's answered by a silence, because they've not thought about it.
Yeah.
So but beer is a good start, I guess. If
one of the best.
Some people, as a Belgian, I would agree with that, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
As a business, as business owners, what still keeps you guys awake at night? What still worries you?
I think there are within a business, like when you're running a business, there are always challenges outside of your control. Now, I used to worry a lot about the things that are outside of my control, which, when you sit back and look at it in the cold light of day, it's an absolute waste of time.
Yep. It's like a rocking chair. Yeah. Keeps you busy, but doesn't move anywhere.
Exactly. And also, I've always been so conditioned to have this vision and this plan and this long-term, you know, where are we going? Where are we going? How are we going to achieve it? That when you sit back in life and you look at life has an uncanny way of throwing you curveballs, and it doesn't matter how well planned and structured you are on your journey. You've got to be malleable. You've got to be able to take the blows, and you've got to be able to face the fact that it doesn't matter how well planned you are in terms of where you want to get to. Your destination is a journey that you might never get to. But I tell you what, if you only focus on a destination, you're going to miss out the enjoyment of all that bit in between.
Yes.
And that's the part, really, is just like you said, celebrate those successes. Set yourself small goals. Don't look too far ahead. How do you mitigate for something like COVID? You cannot do that. How do you mitigate for a financial crisis when all your business is in a bank? You can't. So spread your risk, enjoy what you do every day, work with great people, and accept the fact that whatever plans you've got, they're probably going to have to change at some point. So make them a bit shorter and enjoy the journey.
So it sounds like you guys have got a fairly, I don't want to call it laid back, because that's not really the right word either, but like a pretty chilled approach to, we know where it is we want to get to, we know stuff's going to happen, we'll just deal with it as it comes. Kind of a bit unflappable is maybe a better description.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, that comes with time. And look, you still have the same challenges of, actually, regardless of how much good you're doing, there has to be that commercial element to what you're doing. And you can't just do the great things that you want to do. Otherwise, I'd probably be fishing with, kids that are challenged at school, or children with learning disability. I'll probably be taking them down a fishing lake all day every day and just being there, but hey, that's not going to pay the mortgage. So I think the reality is that you have to be realistic in terms of the environment that you're in. That actually you can change a huge amount in a week just by doing different things. But as long as you're focused on the right things, when you have a commercial strategy around what you're doing with doing great things, that the impact of those will drive revenues into the business. And look, if you're not greedy, you don't really need a huge amount. So you can do great stuff. You can cover your backside in business and, celebrate those great months, but, do something good with it and, make that business sustainable.
Yeah. Love that. Where is this going in the next 5 years?
You know what?
Okay. What's the ultimate goal?
The ultimate, look, we don't need to be the biggest recruitment business on the planet. We're not interested in creating, these huge machines where you lose the identity of the business. But we will grow. We will just continue to grow organically. Still hire great people that share our values and keep working with amazing businesses, because it's pretty cathartic. You finish the end of the week and you've worked with clients that not only are you doing great, and the placements that we make a placement with a business, we offset their carbon footprint for the next 12 months. And there's a lot of discussion around the values of offsetting because it takes a lot of time, but it's a lot better than just going down and buying a bottle of champagne for someone that's going to last 5 minutes. At least you're doing some good. And I think that journey is watching includability continue to grow and the great work that's going on there. I think disrupt as an organization with our digital marketing strategy. James has been an absolute legend in really defining and building that brand and the content. And just really watching that growth of great organizations coming to us and going, guys, there isn't anybody else doing what you're doing. And that, in an industry that's saturated, is, that's a massive buzz on a day-to-day. And so just seeing that grow, continue to bring big people in, building that great client base. And look, I'd love to be in a situation where we've got, more pods around. So, we've got a team in London, team in Reading, team probably in Birmingham, Manchester, and just, it don't need to be huge, but if you've got 10 people in each location, all doing great stuff, imagine the impact that that's going to have on people, planet. Amazing.
See, and then the coach in me goes, but why would you limit that? Because if you had 100 people in those locations, how much more impact could you have?
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I think it's the commercial, having run a business for 11 years, the commercial, business director mindset, you've got to be enjoying what you're doing, right? And there's a funny feeling that comes with responsibility within an organization, where when you create something, you've got to grow into the constraints of what you've got. And I've seen all too much where organizations have scaled and grown at pace because we know it cycles and we know that the market will sustain it for a period. But then you hit a point where you have to scale back, and actually we don't want to get into a position where we know economically in another 10 years time, look, we could grow exponentially in that period. We could end up getting bought by somebody. But I think it's the sustainability angle. How can we sustain and look after all of our people in challenging times, as well as celebrate the good? And I think that's the piece is we could go and get funding tomorrow and scale beyond belief. But I think we'd probably lose some of our identity. We'd lose an element of control, and we're all control freaks.
That's why you're in business.
Yeah. And you cannot ever get away from the fact that you're going to lose that real intrinsic element of why we work here, and that is around that sort of that real connected feeling of we're all in this together. It doesn't matter whether you're a director or you're an admin person. Actually, everybody is valued and everybody is contributing. And do you know what? Some days we've all got to roll our sleeves up and get on with it, and other days, we can go and have a jolly and just enjoy each other's company.
It's a beer.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that janitor story. I'm going to probably do a massive disjustice now. I'm always like this. I remember like half bits of the story.
It's better be good, because you built me up now.
Oh no! Yeah. It was one of the presidents that went round. Oh, I don't know, NASA somewhere, and he asked the janitor, "What do you do?" And he said, "I help put a man on the moon." And it was that whole thing where everyone is involved in the bigger picture of the business.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to brush up on that story now. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I say it a lot. A lot to people that we're working with is that a lot of the recruitment industry has forgotten really, or doesn't necessarily care that outside of your family, your work is probably the second most important thing in life you're going to be involved with. It's definitely going to take up the biggest chunk.
Yeah.
And if you don't treat people when they're looking for opportunities with that in mind, how important this is to them, then how are you going to give them the service that they deserve?
Yeah.
And that's critical.
Yeah.
And like you said, do you know what? If I go into a business and the senior leadership in that business, or you meet them for lunch or whatever, and they showcase that, actually they'll talk down to the person that's, deemed less than them, or they speak in a bad way to the person on reception. For us, that's a deal breaker. That's us done. Regardless, we're out of there, because like you said, it doesn't matter whether you're cleaning the windows of the building you're going into. Everything's important, and everybody's important, and everybody deserves to be treated with that level of respect.
And when you think back about it, all of us as kids, as teenagers, have worked somewhere in an environment like that, where we've had people come in that were then at whatever levels we're at now, or that we want to be at. And we remember what that felt like when they looked down on you, or rude, or whatever, versus the ones that weren't. But it's often easily forgotten when you then grow and become older. So I think that's a really good one. I agree with that.
And one thing you do in this business is you get to meet a lot of people. And I think what you end up doing is you learn a lot about people in this industry. And it doesn't matter whether they're highly successful leaders of huge corporations, or struggling leadership of a startup. The good people are good people, and that will show eventually. Whether it takes a while sometimes to come through, they'll show their colours eventually.
Oh, I so agree with that one. I love that one. So what kind of challenges do you see happening in the next 5 years for you guys, whether it's within the industry and I guess inevitably then also in the business? Yeah,
I think the biggest challenge for us is the chicken and the egg analogy. Our business opportunities are growing exponentially.
Okay.
And that fear of, look, we still pride ourselves on delivering every time. And at what point do you have to go, right, let's hold off. We can't do this just now for you, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client.
Yeah.
We're at a situation whereby actually we need to grow. And so we're trying to manage that we're bringing new people in all the time, but you've got to, again, goes back to that commercial aspect. If somebody dropped £500,000 into your business, you could go and hire a whole team and actually, and drive that for the year, and the impact would be immense. I've seen it before. But actually, when you're spending your own money, you've got to, you really got to think about, what do you do first? And we're still at that point where actually we've got capacity, but we know probably in the next 12 months, we're going to hit capacity across teams. And so having that strategy in the background where we're now looking for engaging and looking at, if people want to come and work and run their own business and be self-employed, we've got an option for you. If people want to come in and be employed and be part of something great, we've got an option for you. If you're a parent returner and you literally don't want to be confined by that working structure anymore, and you just want something where you can work the hours that you want to work from home, we've got an option for you.
Nice.
I think that's the thing, is that it doesn't matter what your situation is. If you love people, you love recruitment, you've worked in that in the past, and you want to work somewhere great, then we want to speak to you.
But I can equally imagine that for you, that throws some different challenges out, because you have different people on different models in different places. From a management team culture perspective, that could equally throw in some interesting scenarios.
Do you know what? I think it throws in a lot of, I think as people, our minds make things more complex usually than they are. We overthink. And you've only got to look at the reticence of senior leadership in their latter careers with their views on hybrid and flexible working. We're battling with, we've battled with, and we'll continue to battle with. Around performance and presenteeism. The reality is, good people, if you've got the right integrity, the right work ethic, you don't need to be sat there in an environment with lots of people, driving you every day to do that. If you need that, then you need an office environment. And that's about self-awareness. If you know that you need somebody on your case every day, it's like, if you can't go to the gym and work out, you get a personal instructor, because they're going to make you work out.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. If you need leadership and you want to develop, and I think that's right for the, I look at that market, and you look at, age is a big thing around building your career, learning and developing. I think in your early career, or if you were to change your career later in life, you want to be around people to absorb that information, that knowledge from. And that's where a work environment, an office environment, can work really well. And also from a perspective, look, we need human interaction.
Yeah.
We need to get out in the countryside. We need to go and experience that. We need to switch technology off sometimes.
Yeah.
But we do need human interaction. And look, virtual human interaction is great.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
But again, as a business, we'll always make sure that we're getting together. We'll always make sure we're giving people the opportunity, and we're building our teams back into an office environment as well. So, we've got an office in Reading. People want to go to Reading, go 1 day a week. If you want to go to Reading 5 days a week, go to Reading 5 days a week. If you want to build a hub around you and get together once a month, a couple of times a month, then we'll do that. Nice.
Love that. Who do you find inspiring? Who's on your short list?
Cool. Do you know what? If you come onto an ESG, like an includability monthly webinar, okay, we run them on the last Wednesday of every month.
Okay.
And we have guest speakers on there. And I'll tell you what, you cannot come off of that without being inspired. You're inspired by individuals that have, ex-military, had severe challenges with their mental health.
Yeah.
And how they're able to articulate that and, and gain some sense of learning from their experiences, but also an understanding that as humans, do you know what, we hit some challenges sometimes. You walk away and you go, wow. And I've always been a positive person in general. And this thing about happiness is, again, sometimes we miss the point with it. It's social media nowadays with young people, and pretty much everyone, it's all about these perfect lifestyles and these happiness, and you should be feeling this way. Everything should be almost perfect in every aspect of your life. The reality is it's not, and it's bloody tough sometimes. So accepting that, accepting that there are occasions when it's going to get really tough, but sit with those emotions, accept those emotions, feel those emotions, and know that that's okay. And I think when you come onto those meetings, another alarm going off, when you come onto those meetings and you listen to inspirational people, we've got lots of ambassadors within includability, but the people that are out there doing great work are phenomenal people. And I think if you want to see somebody who inspires me within the business right now, Paul Smith, and what he's done with includability, and now with this. So have you heard of Jack? JAAQ. No. So JAAQ is Just Ask a Question. It's a social media platform that was created to make mental health and well-being something that's accessible and easy to discuss. So you've got all the fun elements to it and the serious side. So you can go on there and watch video content from, celebrities that have been through challenges in life. And Paul's bridged that gap with the includability community and bringing them into Jack, and actually just watching him operate to create the impacts that he's made. For me, you know what, it makes you very, very proud, not just to know him, but to see what's been created. And then to have that then embedded back into your business is just phenomenal. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does, and absolutely, no, it's fine. I love it. Now, normally at this stage, I might ask, what would you tell, 18-year-old Paul? But actually, I'm going to change that up a little bit and say, because of something you've just said around, social media, youngsters, all this. If you had the opportunity now to give youngsters that one or two top bits of advice around what's to come, or something that's useful for them in their journey coming up, what would that be?
Oh, it would be stop looking for validation in other people, from other people. You are amazing as you are, and everything that you do, you are you. There is nobody else quite like you. And you're in a situation whereby you are completely in charge of everything that you can do in your life. So if you can throw away your technology for periods of time during the week and just go out and experience the great outdoors, go out and feel what it feels like just to be present, then from a well-being, from a mental health perspective, you'll feel better. And do you know what? You'll build a level of strength that you'll look for validation from yourself. And it's okay. It's okay to be different. Don't follow the crowd. You don't have to be like everyone else. And do you know what? The majority of people probably that you're following have got real issues and challenges as well. So just be real.
Love that one. It's a great one. Last three questions, quick ones. What would you, anyone starting a business right now, your top tip?
Make sure you have got a good support network.
Okay.
Make sure you're realistic about how much work you're going to need to put in. And you need to understand why you're doing it. Okay. Understand why. What is it that makes you want to start your own business? And visualize that. And accept that, for all the great stuff that you're going to go on in the journey, accept the fact that, things are going to change. It's going to send you in different, and be prepared to move that dial. Be prepared to change and adapt and improve. And don't ever think you've achieved everything you need without the belief that you need to continually improve, because the minute you think you're there, you've achieved, you've hit the point, the world continues past you. So, and And you can do that great work in other business. You don't need to all the pressures and strains of running your own business, but if you really want to do it, go for it, because I'll tell you what, it's a great journey. It's a challenge, and don't forget those that are there around supporting you through the tough times, because they're really important. You know, remember them and make sure you give them time.
Has being in business been harder, easier, or kind of what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, everything.
all of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been the most brutally challenging thing I've ever done, mentally, emotionally. It's been the highest highs and the lowest lows, and actually it's been quite difficult sometimes to realize, to sit there and go, actually I've been really successful. You know, you sit back sometimes, it's very easy to look at things you haven't done, but remember to look at the things you have, and like we said before, make sure you celebrate those, because you know, I had a young family when I started my business in 2010, and you know, 10 years in business is a short time. 10 years of your children growing up is a lifetime. Oh, my goodness.
Knowing what you know now, would you start a business again?
Hell yeah. Yeah, look, it's I think I'd be, you know, I'd definitely put a lot more thought into it because of the impact it has on your family. Again, the time you don't get back the time, and it's very time consuming, but I'd do it very differently. You know, doing it as part of a team and with a group of people is a lot easier than trying to do it on your own. And actually, look, the rewards and everything that come with that, sometimes you got to test your own mettle, don't you, and see what you can achieve. But equally, do you know what? I'm really happy being involved in entrepreneurship, talking to you know, training and educating people, businesses, young people, career changers, and learning. So, you know, I don't need to set up and run a business to do that. I've done that. I've got the scars. But actually, you know, working in a business now as an employee is, you know, is a very different mindset, but you still work in the same way and still want to achieve collectively the same things.
Absolutely love that. The one thing that popped in my head when you said that was the right people.
Really important. Try and work that out as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Who are those?
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your wisdom with us today. Absolutely loved that. The link to connect up with Paul and the business is in the comment section below, so please go and do that. Thank you for watching this Business Spotlight. Until next time.
Been great, Nell. Take care.